Today, I'm going to show you how to turn your website into something that feels like a native mobile app. And this works with any framework and works on both iOS and Android. So you can see here, I just have an example next.js project pulled up. And if I were to try to add this to the home screen for my simulator, and okay, this doesn't look particularly good. I add it, I click it, and it just reopens in Safari. We can make this feel a lot better, and that's what we're going to go through in this video today. So the key to making this feel like a mobile app is actually pretty simple. It comes down to something called a web manifest file. So I'm just going to create that here in the public folder, and I'll call it manifest.json. And this will essentially control how the OS will show this app when it's made into effectively a progressive web app. So it's a simple JSON object that we can just throw in here. The biggest properties to add here will be a display property. We'll make it stand alone. This is what gets rid of all the Safari UI or the Chrome UI if you're using this on Android. And I'm also going to provide a short name. This will be what the app name is on the home screen and in the app switcher and such. So for now, I'll just call this posts. So now we need to bring this manifest file into the project. So I'm going to go into the layout file here and just add it to the head. So inside the head, add a link, make sure this is tagged as a manifest file, and just attach it to /manifest.json. Okay, now let's try this out again. Go ahead and add to the home screen again, and this time it should be a little bit different. You already noticed some changes here, so the short name already comes in here. There's no icon here, which we'll get to in a second. I'll add this, and post comes in now. Again, the app icon is missing, but if I click on it and open it, all of a sudden, there we go. The Safari UI is done, and this is already starting to feel more like a mobile app. Now let's get the app icon working as well. So you would need to typically generate some sort of app icon that you would use across all different potential sizes you would need across different devices. Luckily, there's a tool that someone built called PWA Asset Generator, and I've actually tagged this in the README file or the repo. And you can see here, there's a couple of these bash commands you can use either for generating just the icons, and you can also use it to generate splash screens as well. So for now, I'll just generate the icons just to keep things simple. So I'm going to copy this command, and you can see it pulls from an app logo.svg, which I've included here in the public folder. This would be just whatever your app logo is that you want to use. And here I'm just telling it, take this app logo, center it in the viewport, apply this background, which will be a blue, and go ahead and generate icons and favicons of all the sizes that we would need. So let me run this. So I'm going to pull this up, run this command, and this will pretty quickly just go through and generate a bunch of icons here for us very quickly. You can see it's pulling from the Apple Human Interface Guidelines, for example. Great. Okay, so we have some files being generated here. So you can see there's some different files of different sizes. You can see this is the icon on that background. And it's done in all the right sizes. And it's even gone ahead into the manifest file because I specified it here in the call. Here we said, yep, specify public /manifest as the actual manifest file. And it's gone ahead and added support for the icons already into this file for us. So there's one last thing we need to do, which it'll actually tell us down here. We need to take these three lines of code and we need to add it. So let's just go back to the layout file and add these as more tags in the head. And just self-close these link tags. Same with this meta tag. Okay, one thing I've just noticed here is it's put in actually the wrong href. So we don't need this public prefix for the icon. So get rid of public. So now let's try this. So refresh this. Try to add it again to the home screen. There we go. The icon's coming through now here. If I say add to home screen, the icon's coming through here. I can add it. The icon's now here on the home screen. If I click on it, it loads in. Now, the other thing you'll notice is there's this black bar here at the top. And we essentially need to tell the OS that, hey, let the content of this website fill up the whole screen. Because right now it's artificially cutting it off. And this is actually by default meant to protect you because on, for example, newer iPhones like the simulator here, the dynamic island will be here or the notch would be there. And so it's trying to protect you from overlapping with that hardware limitation. But to really make this feel like native, I would say we need to extend this all the way and adjust the styling accordingly. So let's first just tell it to extend all the way up. And for this, we need to add some meta tags on the viewport. Now I'm just going to copy this in for next.js because I can just export the viewport object here, and this will essentially add the meta tags for me. But in your framework, you just add the normal meta tags you would of these same properties. So now when I run this, I'll need to re-add this one more time. And just to make sure this fully works, I'm also going to add one more meta tag down here, which is for the status bar style. This will truly allow the content to fill up the screen. And so now if I were to go and add this now to the home screen, add it, open this up. Okay, now we've got content really going all the way. Actually, it's going too far right now. So we need to now adjust the styling to account for this. So most of this, I would say, is going to get fixed through playing with the header that was here. So let me go ahead and open up the header file. You'll notice right now, this was set to be a sticky header, and it's set to the top, left, and right of 0, so push it to the very top. The problem now, of course, is that the definition of what is top, left, and right 0, especially top 0, is like the top of the screen fully, under this notch and under this dynamic island. So that's obviously not going to work. So what we need to do is when we are in this PWA mode, we need to adjust the styling. We don't want to mess up with the desktop styling, but we still want to make it support here. And so something that we can actually do is there's a media query, a CSS media query we can use to determine whether we are on this standalone mode. And so in the CSS file, I've actually already added this as a Tailwind utility that we can use. And so it's this custom variant called standalone, and it checks essentially if display mode is standalone, and then we can apply some custom styles. So we can use this now in the header. And just to maintain the styles as is on desktop, I'm going to set all these custom styles we add to exclusively the standalone mode. So for example, I can say in standalone mode, I want this to be fixed, not sticky. But now we need to make some adjustments. Specifically, what I'm going to do is on this actual div, I'm going to add a padding top. And there's a reason why. So let's just, for example, let's say I want to instead just add a margin top, right? Instead. So if I add the margin top, you'll notice that there's this weird thing that happens. Yes, this header gets pushed down to roughly the right amount. 16 is kind of something I play around with. But because all the content's allowed to overflow up to the top, you can see all this stuff we have scrolling. It will go under this header and then keep showing up beyond that. So we actually need to size the header to fully cover the top part of this so you prevent this situation. So that's why here I would add a padding instead of a margin. And so this fully covers the top. Content can go underneath and it's not going to peek back out. But now you'll notice that the content is also now shifted all out of whack. So we need to add a manual spacer to push everything down artificially. So I'll add the spacer here, make a empty div, and just say on standalone mode, set the height, and I played around with some values. I set to 120 pixels. And just to make this work, I need to move this spacer outside the header. So I'm just going to make this a fragment, and then move this div down here. So now we have this working. Spacer is pushing the content down beyond the header itself. So now when I scroll, everything just works and now looks as expected. So that's it for this one. You can check out the source code from this video in the description. YouTube thinks you should check out this video on screen next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.